Good evening, gentlemen. Hope you all are having a lovely day. December Discipline Day 12. What do you know? This one is about sexuality and pornography and jerking off and all that kind of stuff, addressing all of that. And it just so happens that that is something that I already talk about a lot and have dealt with a lot in my own life and in terms of making videos about it, making over 100 and who knows how many videos about this very subject. So I figured that would be a pretty easy one to talk about. Hunter Drew, the guy who heads up this whole thing, the guy who has established December of Discipline and Men in March and 31 Days to Masculinity, all that wonderful stuff, has confirmed that yet again, as was the case during the previous incarnations of this program, the big point that guys are failing on and have already failed in December Discipline, a number of men, I don't even know how many, but the largest number of casualties is not from having to do 100 push-ups a day and not being able to do that, or losing track of time or whatever and not completing that. It's not from the daily challenges, which can be, difficult and hard to nail down well. It's not from any of that. It is from pornography and jacking off, or jerking your gherkin, or sanding your lumber, however you want to call it. And you would think, well, how hard can it be to not do something? You would think it would be with the failure would be with the stuff that you have to do, not the stuff that you have to not do. I mean, how hard is it to keep your hands off yourself? How hard is it to stay away from that website? And that's what you think until you take up a challenge like this and you're like, holy crap. This is tough stuff. And we realize that, this is, this kind of stuff can become so addictive and can have such a grip on you. You can kind of take it for, you kind of underestimate it at times if you've never tried to quit, That was me for a long time. How hard can it be, Before I started watching porn, before I first fell into that, I was hearing about guys dealing with that, from time to time, and I'm like, man, just, why don't you just not do it? What's the struggle about here? What's the big deal? How hard can it be to not do something? It's hard. It's tough. All right? And it's something that, in a lot of cases, you've really got to learn to fight it, and you got to have accountability, and you got to, learn all kinds of stuff. You got to build that discipline. It is like an addiction, and part of the thing with the challenge is, about how it affects you beyond that. Beyond just the fact that, it's an addictive behavior. Beyond just the fact that you're a man and you should always be in control of what you do. And yes, you are a sexual being. And yes, you have your sex drive and everything for a reason. But even so, you should always be in control. It's beyond just that. It's beyond porn and its nature as an addictive behavior. It's beyond a masturbation and its nature as an addictive behavior. But how is it affecting you beyond that? Are you sitting at home jerking it to porn, jerking it to basically a video of somebody else screwing a girl that you're attracted to? As like Hunter says, that's basically conditioning your mind to get off on being cucked. And simple as that. Instead of going out and doing the thing, instead of going out and getting a woman and actually having sex, you are deriving pleasure, you're piggybacking off of what somebody else is doing. And beyond that, just the things that you become conditioned to become attracted to. Hopefully most guys don't get into any of the super weird stuff, but I did. I got into a bunch of weird stuff that it's just weird and messed up or unnatural, all kinds of strange stuff. Porn can really get into your brain like that. You can become addicted to that variety and get into stuff that you naturally are not even into. That's called a porn-induced fetish. It's a real thing. A lot of guys get this, and it's because we have so much variety of pornography out there, and it's because pornography becomes such an addictive and compulsive habit. And it's because it's reinforced by that very powerful experience, orgasm during masturbation. You know, you are very, very strongly conditioning your brain to embrace these things that in many cases may be against your own true sexual nature. It's a big deal, okay? And that's part of the reason that I got into this whole thing, doing these videos, posting about it online, all kinds of stuff that I'm doing about this is because it is such a big deal for so many guys. And, for the most part, we don't talk about it enough. We don't take it that seriously. And in many cases, we kind of see it as something that, yeah, I do it. Yeah, everybody does it. So how bad can it be? How hard could it be to quit? Is it really, an addiction? Does it really have such a grip on me? But you really don't know until you try to get free of it. You don't know what it's doing to you until you see what you're like when you're away from it for a long period of time. And it's not just, in a lot of cases, it's not just, the typical 90-day reboot, whatever they call it. It's not just, you quit porn, you quit masturbating for 90 days, and then you get back to your baseline, what you're really like. Not necessarily. It took me a lot longer than that to reach my baseline, to reach, the point where my brain had healed and was back to normal. It's a big deal. It can get deep into your head, and it's like a frog in a pan with the water slowly warming up. He doesn't realize what's happening to him. It gets worse and worse and worse over time. Luckily, the difference here between the frog and the pan is that it's never too late. Your brain can heal. You can quit. You can get over this. You can get through it. You can recover. All right, I did. Lots of other guys did. It takes different people different amounts of time to recover, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to quit this thing, but it's possible. And that in part, that's part of what this whole December Discipline Challenge is about, because it is something that comes between you and the full, authentic incarnation and expression of your real masculine spirit. And a lot of guys, Hunter said, a lot of guys, complain. They're like, what's wrong with porn? Or, jacking off is natural and that kind of stuff. But this proves, the fact that so many men have failed this has proven how much of a hold that it does have on men, as a hold that it should not have. The way men should be, that we should be, we should have very powerful sex drives and a lot of sexual energy, a lot of that. There should be just an abundance of that in us, but at the same time, an abundance of control. There should be power, but there should also be control. It's not just one or the other. It's both. All right? And it's a big chunk of what Day 12 is about here. And it is an important component of what, the way as far as I understand it, it's a big component of what 31 Days to Masculinity is about. And that's why it's a daily rule for the entire month. No pornography, no jacking off. Because it is an enemy of masculinity. All right? That's it for now. Y'all have a good day. God bless you guys. Take it easy, but not too easy. I'll talk to you later.